All right, Captain, if you want to grace us with a log.
Captain's log, stardate 54-172.8. After searching the station and the Tereshkova, we've been unable to locate the fictitious Commander Douglas or his ensign. In other news, we're also repairs on the Tereshkova are coming along nicely. One bad piece of news is that it seems our chief engineer has got himself in legal trouble. Not quite sure he's going to make it out of this one. But we've got Lieutenant Leva. She can keep the engine room running, so we'll just have to see how things go in Captain's log.
So we start the scene off with currently in the Starbase Medical Ward, Lieutenant Rotala Tchark. You have been discharged with a clean bill of health.
Do I have any idea what's happening right now in character?
You do not know. But there was extra security posted for some odd reason, and no one wanted to tell you why.
All right. So when I'll approach one of the. Sorry, you said nobody wanted to tell me why, so they're kind of not talking.
Just these are like, oh, it's most of the nurses that like you ask us like, why is there so much security? It's like, don't worry about it. They're like, it's nothing to be concerned about. There was just a minor snafu in the medical ward a few days ago.
A few days ago. All right, I'll hit my comm badge. Lieutenant Tacharek to Captain Elder. I've just been discharged from the medical ward. Did something happen while I was under? There's a security posted all over the medical ward, and they're not talking. Sir. Oh no.
Captain, I believe you were getting a
Oh,
chirp.
Sorry. Go again.
This is Lieutenant Tacharek to Captain Elder. I've just been discharged from the medical ward, sir. There's security posted all over the place, and they're not exactly talking about why. Did something happen while I was under, sir?
Yes, there is a security intrusion. We're looking into it, and we haven't found everybody yet. You should be able to get a full briefing whenever the senior staff meets.
Yes, sir. Should I return to my post on the Tereshkova, or is there somewhere else you'd like to have me?
No one's going on board the Tereshkova right now as it's under repair.
Of course, sir.
You don't have any duties to attend to right now. Just enjoy the time off.
Yes, sir. Rotala sighs a bit. Lieutenant Tachark over and out. She, I guess, disconnects the line, and Ratala will just head to one of the. I assume there's like maybe not quite bars, but restaurants, lounges, and stuff on the station.
Okay. As you exit the medical ward, you're approached by a lieutenant commander. She goes, "Excuse me, Lieutenant, can I have a moment of your time?"
Of course, sir.
I just wanted to, if you had time to ask if I could ask you a few questions in my office.
Of course, sir. Well,
Oh,
Captain Elder has told me that I don't have any duties to attend to at the moment.
of course. My apologies for introducing myself. I am Lieutenant Commander Mackenzie. I am part of the JAG office here on the station.
Ratala quirks a brow. The JAG office, sir, is someone.
Yes, don't worry, you're not in any trouble. I just have some questions to ask you.
Of course, sir. I'll be happy to answer them.
And I'm assuming you follow her to her office on some
Yes.
level on this massive starbase. You go in the room, you find it's actually quite, pretty busy. A lot of different officers in various uniforms, from red shirts to the typical Starfleet security gold. She escorts you into a private room.
All right. I'll follow her, of course.
Yeah. Keep in mind, it's not. It's got glass kind of around it. It's kind of open. People can see you, and you can see them, but it's still somewhat private. Please, Lieutenant, have a seat.
I'll nod and sit down in the offered seat.
Can I get you anything?
And ice water would be more than enough, sir. I'm a little bit parched.
Of
Thank
course. Computer, one iced tea, chilled. She takes the glass of water and sets it down on the desk in front of you, and takes a seat across.
Take a sip from the glass. Thank you, sir.
See, you were in the medical ward for quite a while, Lieutenant.
Yes, sir. I was.
Care to comment on? You believe you were in a training accident. I do have the medical report here. You had your jaw completely broken, as well as some hemorrhaging that you nearly choked to death.
Tala nods, nods, sort of just grasping the glass of water. I was giving a demonstration to Lieutenant Sullivan, our nurse, one of our nurses, and Lieutenant Kalem was assisting me. So I thought it would be a good idea to give Nurse Sullivan a demonstration. And so I, thought I'd engage in a mock fight with Lieutenant Kalem. As I remember, my memory's a little bit fuzzy. I accidentally struck Lieutenant Kalem, and I assume it was on the return swing that he accidentally hit me in turn, and I believe that was when I was knocked out. It's difficult to recall exactly,
Well,
but I'm quite sure it was an accident.
broken jaw, some hemorrhaging, and a concussion. I call that a very serious right hook, to put it bluntly. My question is, have you is everything all right between you and the Lieutenant Kalem?
As far as I know, yes, I think we've been getting along quite well. I don't harbor any ill will against him for that accident.
Well, he just lately he's demonstrated some rather aggression. Um, while you were in the medical ward, unconscious, he barged into the medical ward and attempted to strike you while you were recovering, and there was an altercation because of that. Sorry, you were not harmed or anything like that, but I'm just wondering if the lieutenant was offered any ill, there was any ill will between the two of you. Because this seems an awful lot for just a minor accident, as you proclaim to be.
As far as I'm aware, no, I don't think he's harbored any ill will against me. I mean, the last interaction I had with him before the accident was really, well, I was helping him and his engineering crews with emergency repairs on the Tereshkova, and uh, no, generally our interactions have been positive. I don't remember any time they've been negative, to be honest. Well,
I
certainly
just,
not with the JAG officer.
I find it hard to believe that a Starfleet officer would, when you have been when you've been medically absent for your duties, that he would come and try to assault you.
Did he give a reason for it?
Currently, he is remaining silent on the matter. He is facing a long list of charges on what happened.
Imagine, but is it? To be frank, the only insight I could provide would be to propose that perhaps there was something aggravating him at the time or causing undue stress that would have. I mean, is it possible that he was just
Well,
desperate to wake me up?
that is the that's the for the courts to decide on the matter. My question is, currently you have not filed a charge against Lieutenant Kalem for the aggressive use of force, especially during a training exercise. If you wish to file a complaint or essentially add to the list of charges that he is already under, you're more than welcome to. Keep in mind the list is rather long.
I don't think that's necessary, no.
Um, Keep in mind, Lieutenant, assume that you said you were friends. Friends don't hit people like they hit you.
With all due respect, sir, I think in this case that's up for me to decide in terms of whether I'd like to press charges.
Of course it is. Thank you for your time, Lieutenant. I can have one of my staff show you out if you like.
That would be much appreciated, sir.
She kind of motions for one of her aides to come, and they show you out.
Alright, I'll head outside then. um, I guess once outside, I'll just head to a bar or lounge to relax for the moment, unless anyone else calls on me. I'm not sure legally. There's nothing legally preventing me from telling the captain or anyone about the fact that I was just interviewed, is there? As far as I know.
No, there's nothing legally binding. No.
Okay. All right. I'll ping him again, and I suppose on my communicator. Captain, I apologize for bothering you again, but I was just interviewed by a JAG officer about attempted assault by Lieutenant Kalem. I've chosen not to press charges, but I thought I should appraise you of the situation, sir.
Just for clarification, she is not. She was asking you if you're wishing to press charges during your training accident on board the Tereshkova, not in the medical ward.
Right. In regards to the training accident, that is, it seems they're pressing charges in regards to what happened in the medical bay, regardless of my opinion on the matter.
Well, I would advise that you get legal counsel.
Seems like good advice, sir, but I'll seek out legal counsel, sir. Thank you. I apologize for the interruption. I just thought it was pertinent to appraise you of the situation.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Elder out.
Tatarek out. Disconnect the line. Oh boy. What would... Hmm. Just thinking about what Rital wants to do next, because obviously she can't. She's probably going to be kept from speaking to Kalem since they're pressing charges against him for attempting to assault her. Hmm. I mean, I guess for now she'll just go get something to eat and drink, and then think about what to do after that. 'Cause she's probably pretty hungry at the moment. So I just got out of a medical ward and I was there for 3 days. I assume they had me on like an IV drip or something, but still.
Okay. You head off. You get something to eat and drink. Meanwhile, back at the Admiral's office, the Admiral is asked to see both Joan and Elder.
Then I buzz in the office to see if we can go in.
Enter.
Admiral?
Admiral?
Captain, Commander. I been presumed you've been advised of the situation dealing with your chief engineer currently.
We've been told.
So far, Lieutenant Kalem hasn't asked for any counsel regarding the matter. I suggest you have a talk with him about that.
I will speak with him, but it is his right, and I don't wish to interfere in this too much.
Well, luckily for right now, it's just a board of inquiry, so it's not a court-martialable offense yet. At least that's what for the board is to decide. Though, from what I'm reading, the JAG office has quite a case against Lieutenant Kalem.
I do believe we've long since moved past the point where people brought frivolous boards of inquiry, so I wouldn't expect anything less if one has been brought.
I also have made an appointment with one of the counselors on board the station to speak with Lieutenant Kalem. This is merely to judge his current mental fitness, um, especially with the odd behavior he displayed in the medical ward and the so-called training accident that happened aboard your ship.
Admiral, if I may, who's sitting in the inquiry?
The judge advocate is being brought in. Captain Tikev will be presiding over it. Lieutenant Commander McKenzie will be on the prosecution. She's the one that's been developing the case against Lieutenant Kalem.
Admiral, isn't it common for the commanding officer of the offender to be
Yes,
brought into it as
Captain
well?
Elder will be sitting on the board as well as myself.
Oh, okay. Just wasn't sure.
The third is Captain Tikev.
Oh.
He is the bipartisan in this board of inquiry.
Mm.
Well, Admiral, I wouldn't necessarily characterize either of us as partisan. I think we both are interested in the best. We're both hold the best interests of the fleet in mind.
It is involving your officer that you handpicked, Captain. If you believe you can refrain or remain bipartisan in this matter, then I don't see an issue during this board of inquiry. However, if you feel it necessary, I can appoint someone else in your stead.
No, I don't think there will be an issue. And handpicked is a strong word. I picked approximately 3 or 4 people for the Tereshkova. Most of them came en masse from another assignment.
Formerly of the Sarek, ma'am.
It's true. Officers have been hard to come by lately. A lot of roles to fill and not a lot of crew to crew them. Is there any questions for me regarding this matter, gentlemen?
Joan looks to the captain and then back to the admiral and shakes his head. Nothing for me, Admiral.
I have nothing further.
I believe the hearing will commence at 1300 hours. I expect both of you to be there.
Understood, Admiral.
I, ma'am.
Dismissed. Oh, Joan, could you stay a while?
Of course, Admiral. Captain.
I nod towards the Admiral and leave.
Joan stands somewhat uncomfortable now. It's like, wait, why am I being told to stay in the principal's office?
Your transfer papers have gone through, Commander. However, I wanted to ask you if you might be interested in another position that's come up here on the starbase.
Well, I had slated myself for starbase duty, so I'd be open to most anything, really.
This one might be a little more interesting for you. Might help your career out. I'm in need of a new fleet liaison officer, if you're interested.
Fleet liaison? With whom, Admiral?
The 10th Fleet. Your job would be working here at the starbase, but going to many of the local governments that surround the starbase, dealing with them and making a presence known for the 10th Fleet and, of course, Starfleet.
I would be quite glad to take such an assignment, Admiral, but isn't that normally something that the diplomatic corps would want rather than a Starfleet officer?
Will you be
Not that I'm trying
representing?
to talk myself out of a job. He smiles at that.
You'll be representing the 10th Fleet in its interest. There is already diplomatic attaches attached to the different governing worlds. Um, your job is, I mean, there's a lot to it, but mainly it's to help with the needs of the different local governments, what the 10th Fleet can offer and provide, and
Well, it seems within my abilities, and I can imagine a need for such a post. Um, if you believe it's the best fit for me, Admiral, I would be glad to take the position.
well, I was glad to hear that, Commander. So, as soon as this Board of Inquiry is over with, consider your new position here at Starbase 21. Keep in mind, it is a lot of traveling.
I can imagine, ma'am. I've done Admiral staffing in the past. I'm used to travel. He smiles at that.
She extends her hand out.
He reached out and takes it and gives it a firm shake.
Well, Commander, I will see you after the Board of Inquiry. Till then, you're dismissed.
Aye, Admiral. And when Joe walks out, he kind of breathes a sigh of relief of, ooh, okay. And then finds somewhere to get some, to read up on his new posting. While still doing his duties, or continuing to do his duties as the XO, because he's still the XO until the inquiry's over.
All right, we're gonna cut scene to the next scene here. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. Meanwhile, in the brig of the starbase, Lieutenant, you find yourself alone in your rather large cell, and there's several guards inside there.
Calem's not doing anything. He's like just laying on the bed staring at the ceiling.
At this moment, a certain counselor or the captain can enter.
Yeah, I'll meet him.
Don't sound so excited there, Elder.
I guess when I walk up to the cell, like, what do I see?
You see your chief engineer lying on a bed, staring at the ceiling with his arms crossed.
Is there anyone who would hear a conversation between the two of us?
There are currently 3 guards in the brig. The one guard's like, Captain?
So do I think that they could hear us though if we talked. Like they're not
Yes.
just spread out. Okay.
At least
I
one can. There are 2
okay.
that are kind of further down that are kind of guarding the entrance.
What rank is the guy who's talking to me?
He is an ensign.
Ensign, if you don't mind, could you stand guard outside of the brig so that I can have a confidential meeting
These cells
with...
are these sir. With all due respect, I can't leave my post, but you can enter the cell and I can turn on the silent dampeners for you if you like, or well, the sound dampeners if you're wanting to have a conversation in private.
That should be fine.
He nods. He lowers the force field.
I go in.
You step into the jail cell. The force field raises.
At the sound of the force field being lowered, Kalem's gonna look over and just like quickly sit up on his bed and just go, "Sir."
It might somewhat help you coming to attention when superior officers come, when you come into superior contact with superior officers over the next few days. You don't want to rub anyone the wrong way. Regardless, I wanted to talk about why you haven't taken legal counsel.
I was debating on whether I should or not, sir, but I've come to the belief that I probably should.
Do you intend to fight this?
I intend to try.
How do you feel about staying in Starfleet?
I would love to do so.
Is it worth going to prison over?
Prison's a risk. What's gonna happen after that, I have no.
What do you think about just not taking the risk at all and cutting your losses?
Run from a fight, sir? Really?
Not run. Just
Resigning my commission and running from the problem is what you're suggesting, sir.
I'm suggesting that maybe you've done something in the past that would majorly influence some of the decision makers in this case to let you resign and let this go away, rather than forcing it to happen and forcing you to go to a prison colony for a significant amount of time.
There is, sir. I have done things in the past that could probably get me off the hook. However, in doing so, it would have to be a closed session. Because most of what I would have to divulge is classified information.
I don't think that would be necessary. I think if you're willing to resign, someone who is in the decision-making process could take it from there.
Want to and willing to are two different things, sir. Do I want to resign? No. But I will if I have to.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think anyone could save your career at this point. That's why I'm trying to help you here.
I have an idea that I will have to discuss with my legal counsel when they get here on how we might be able to mitigate the repercussions of my actions, sir.
I lean in real close to Kalem. Well, regardless of what you decide, there may be some people in the Federation who are grateful enough about what you and a few other people may have done to help you get out of this, regardless of what you decide to do. And I'll stand back up away from. Well, I've fulfilled a request from the Admiral by coming to talk to you and see if you'd take legal counsel. It seems like you're going to do that. I should refrain from discussing anything further with you, though.
True, you probably will be sitting on the board of England.
Well, good day, Lieutenant. And then I press, I guess, a button to call the guard or whatever. Calm the guard or whatever.
Yeah. So, force field goes down. The guard kind of nods.
Before I leave, I turn back towards Kalem. I assume he can still hear me, even though the force field's in the way.
Yeah.
Lieutenant, did you know if the worst happens here, that 2 of the 3 people that helped solve a crisis we're facing again today would be in prison?
Sir?
Oh, it's just a curiosity. There's got to be a young ensign out there somewhere sweating in her boots. And I'll walk away.
As you're walking out the exit, you notice outside or exiting the brig area. You notice a particular, Andorian woman enter the brig.
Captain?
What's the rank?
Lieutenant.
Lieutenant? Don't think we've had the pleasure.
No, sir. Lieutenant Shala Wright. I'm with the counseling service here on the Starbase. And you're Captain John Elder, correct?
Depends on what you've heard.
I heard you're the current captain of the Tereshkova.
I'll accept that.
And the commanding officer of one Lieutenant Kalem Tabin.
Maybe. That one I'm not sure of.
Of course, sir.
Are you coming to speak with the lieutenant?
Yes, I'm here for his evaluation.
Well, good luck. And I'll walk away.
Sir? And she'll walk in. Thought he'd be taller.
Yeah, they all say that.
The guard's like, ma'am?
Ensign, here are my documentation. I'm here for my appointment.
Ah. Do you feel comfortable stepping inside the cell with your patient? Keep in mind, we will engage all privacy matters. There will be a visual feed that I will be monitoring in case he does attack you. But there will be no audio recordings or devices that I will be listening to.
Excuse me, Ensign. I just need access to that panel real quick. I am going to need to activate audio, but I'm going to encode it so that way it's only for my records and not for yours.
Of
for my
course.
note taking.
And he steps aside. It's like
Enters
he
that
hasn't
in.
done this before.
Yeah. It's like I keep being called to do this every so often. Especially with 10th Fleet officers. They're very ornery. After entering that in, she motions back to the panel. You can take your position again, Ensign. Has the patient done anything since I've gotten to him? Has he been harmed? Has he been eating?
He has been eating, though he just stares at the ceiling for the past several days.
Has he been sleeping?
I believe so. Report says he is in good healthy condition. The medics have come by occasionally and checked on him.
Very good. All right then, Ensign. No time like the present. Let me in.
And he lets down the force field.
She steps in, pad in hand, and digs out a neurocortical monitor out of her pocket.
You hear the force field engage and a privacy blocker activate.
One moment, Lieutenant. Ensign, there should be on the visual panel, there should be a blinking green light if the audio is working.
You hear it is.
She gives a thumbs up. Also, you shouldn't have been able to hear that. You might want to check the silencers again. She turns around.
Oh no.
Right.
Legal audio
Yeah.
recording. We got it.
Well, it's inadmissible anyway, so.
Yeah, exactly.
It's inadmissible. Yeah. So.
Lieutenant Kalem Tabin?
Kalem will just stand to his feet. Yes, Lieutenant?
Hello, I'm Lieutenant Charlotte Wright. I'm one of the counselors here aboard Starbase 21. I'm here for your evaluation. Do you consent to this evaluation?
Of course. You're here to see if I'm crazy or not.
I would not use such a pejorative. I'm here to see about your mental well-being and to see if you are in need of any aid. Further, anything you say to me in this room under this condition is privileged information, for I am your current counselor at the moment.
Doctor-patient confidentiality and all that jazz. Yeah, I know.
Just required to go through she waves the pad, the spiel. All right, then. Now here's the part of the spiel you're probably not familiar with. Are you familiar with what this is, Lieutenant?
With what is?
This device in my hand. This is a neurocortical monitor. I am going to ask you to place it just below your right ear. I'm using it to aid in my evaluations. I'm also recording our conversation, but that's only for my notes and not for any legal documentation.
I'm sorry, as a player, I thought you were showing him something on the pad. That's my fault.
No, it's okay.
And Kalem will just, like, take it and be like, and this is why I hate doctors. And he'll put it on his ear.
Oh, I'm not a doctor. I have a master's in counseling. Slight difference, but thank you for the compliment. I don't have my doctorate yet. So the title counselor or lieutenant is perfectly fine.
All right then, counselor.
Just to do a quick diagnostic, what is your favorite color? It's for the stimulator. I need the monitor. I need to make sure it's working.
Teal.
She looks at you, raises an eyebrow. Okay. Your favorite food?
Hosprat.
And did you know that you look terrible today?
Of course, my hair's a mess.
Very good. Do you understand why I'm here?
In conjunction to the incident in sick bay the other day.
Very good. And how do you feel right now?
A little bit agitated.
Understandable. Have you ever had violent outbursts before in your career?
No,
Outside of
not-
normal duty, of course.
No, not like this.
Before you joined Starfleet, have you had an incident like this before?
Counselor, I was a member of the Bajoran Resistance. I don't think I've had an outburst of this magnitude in a while. Unless it was punching cardies.
I see. What is your opinion on authority figures in general?
I respect them. I listen to them. They hold a place of authority that I don't have.
Very good. And do you understand why perhaps a person may object to being struck in the course of their duties?
Of course I would.
Then I have to ask the unfortunate question, why do you believe it was necessary to strike a fellow officer in the course of his duties? Don't worry about the allegedly and so forth. I'm a counselor, not a lawyer.
To be honest, Counselor, I don't know why I did it. We had a security situation. I was there to get our security officer up and about, and he was preventing me from doing that. I do remember warning him to take his hands up off me or wind up like him, and when he threatened to throw me in the brig for assaulting my security chief, which I would remind you happened in a training accident, I couldn't help myself. I slugged him.
Do you normally strike officers who prevent you from carrying out what you are intending to do?
Oh, no. No, that was a first for me.
Are you aware that you did something wrong? Or do you believe you did something wrong?
You see, Counselor, there's the tricky question.
That's why I asked them.
Out of character, I have to think about the answer to this one for a minute.
I'd say that's perfectly fair.
In the eyes of others, I admit I did something wrong in their eyes, while in mine, I was there to get help to stop a security situation, and a security officer prevented me from doing so. I did warn him to take his hands off me. I think I was perfectly justified even at his shall we say, indirect response to a training accident.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Lieutenant, but weren't you under orders to go to the Tereshkova at that time? My notes may be incorrect, so feel free to correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, I was under orders to go to the Tereshkova. However, the sick bay happened to be on the way there. And I figured that on the way there I could manage to get our security officer up to help out with it.
Do you have a prior relationship with the your security officer?
No prior relationship, nothing like that. No. I just knew that she would be one of our best assets on board, as she is a Romulan and was raised by Romulan.
Why would that matter?
She probably would have a lot more insight as to how spies act. Is she Talshiar? I don't know. I'll never say that. If she is or isn't. She just probably would have a better insight.
Ah, I see. Did you consult with the medical officer present, or any of the medical officers present, whether your security officer was fit for duty? Or did you just walk straight in? That isn't quite in the notes, and sometimes details like that get lost.
I walked straight in. I was going to wake her up myself.
Why do you believe one of the medical personnel incapacitated you after striking the officer?
Probably to prevent me from getting an even worse beatdown from the other security officers in the room.
Do you believe the Starfleet security was going to use excessive force when they detained you?
Possible. I did just strike one of their fellow officers.
Hmm. All right. Oh, do you like cats or dogs?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a particular favorite pet or animal you like?
Would it surprise you to say snakes?
No. I think one person I knew happened to like rocks as pets. That was a unusual answer, but it comes up a lot more often than you think. Snakes is not all that unusual. All right then. And and of course, have you had any trouble sleeping or any trouble eating?
No, no trouble. At all.
Do you have a family history of any mental illnesses of any kind? Your mother, father, your grandparents? From what you can recall, anyway. I understand you've been through very difficult times, and memories aren't exactly the sharpest when people think that far back.
To be honest, counselor, I don't even remember my parents' faces or names. They died when I was very little.
Mm. I assume that still bothers you.
From time to time.
Do you believe the security officer in detaining you was justified in trying to detain you?
No, as I had done no illegal action as of yet.
Okay. Do you know where you are?
Brig at Starbase 21.
Do you know the current start date?
Out of character, give me a sec.
Patient is out of character. That's unusual. No.
It's somewhere between 54160.5 and maybe 54163.
Very good. According to the notes here, and again, they may be incorrect, it says here that you approached Rotala, I believe it is, Lieutenant Cherek, and you looked like you're about to strike her while she was on a biobed, and he restrained you. Is that a true statement?
Strike may be a hard way of putting it. I was planning on Have you ever been asleep and then someone just lightly slapped you awake on the side of your head?
Yes.
That's what I was planning on doing. Politely, not in any way harmful. Just a light, I guess you could call it a light pat on the side of the head to wake
Ah. Lieutenant Kalem, do you know what the procedure is in a red alert situation?
up. For me,
Yes.
red alert situation would be get everybody to their stations as quickly as possible. Uh, get ready for combat. Prepare for breaches to the hull, things like that.
All right. That's all I have for now. Oh, and one last thing. Do you like fish?
I'm sorry, counselor, it almost sounds like you're trying to gather parameters for a date.
No. Again, calibrations. You'd be surprised what actually matters when it comes to the brain. Different parts light up when you ask certain questions. I'm also determining if you realize you're in reality or not, which you currently do, which is very encouraging.
Well, then, shall we refine the question a little bit? What type of fish would you like me to answer that question to?
One you like
Because,
to
as
eat
you
or
know,
one you like to keep as a pet?
I believe the humans call it catfish. Deep fried catfish.
Ah. All right. Do you have any questions for me or any concerns you have regarding? And I'll try to help you and inform you as best I can. But remember, I am only although I am a counselor, I am not a legal professional. I am a medical professional.
I have nothing at this time, counselor.
Very good. Just so you are aware, of course, to clarify, either yourself or the Jack office, whether it's your representative or the stations, they may query me. However, the exact contents of this are sealed unless you tell me specifically and explicitly that they are to be unsealed. Although I would advise you, as your attending physician, the attending counselor, I should say, that that's usually unwise. Yeah.
I
But-
would agree on that.
Very good. Well, Lieutenant, I'll need that back from your neck now.
Takes it off. And almost like he's flipping a coin nowadays, he just flips it back to you.
She kind of she grabs it and then kind of fumbles with it and then finally gets hold of it and then puts it away. Thank you, Lieutenant.
No problem, counselor.
And she waves at the ensign outside.
Counselor, if you wish to speak, hit the button on the side of the wall near the force
You could
field.
just She shrugs and presses it. Or you could just open the door. She crosses her arms.
And the force field comes down.
Yeah, haha, ensign. Very funny. She walks out, shakes her head, taps a bit on the console, getting her files set aside. All right. For now, patient seems all right, as far as I can tell. If he needs me, he can catch. I'm currently assigned to him, so, or if you need me to attend to him for whatever reason, let me know.
Understood, ma'am.
Ensign, have a nice day, Lieutenant. She waves as she walks away.
Force field, comes back online. And while that's going on, we're going to cut to a crew quarters on the starbase with Vogel and Annika. Vogel, currently you and Annika are asleep. This is more of the early hours of the morning. You currently find yourself having a dream, but you're not quite sure what sort of dream. You find yourself standing on it. You and Annika are standing on a streetway. Your uniform is slightly tattered, and you see buildings on fire. You can hear loud explosions, as well as many fellow Starfleet officers and even civilians lying on the floor. As you look into the distance, you can see the Golden Gate Bridge, but it's not as picturesque as you would normally see it. It appears that several parts of it have fallen into the ocean water. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Is there people panicking, running?
There's a few. You do see Starfleet medical teams attending to wounded and whatnot. You do hear explosions in the distance.
I will
Annika,
go up to one of them and ask what happened here.
the medical personnel turn and starts scanning. He's like, "Do you feel lightheaded at all, Lieutenant? Your injuries they're minor, slight bruising on the temple. Is everything all right? You need to, if you're able to move, you do need to get to the shelters right away.
What happened here?
The Earth, we're under attack."
Do you know who's attacking it?
I don't know. Look, Lieutenant, I don't have time to ask questions. You need to get the shelter. And she kind of motions to a couple of our officers, like, we need to get this one uh, on the stretcher right away. And you hear a loud explosion. Annika slowly walks towards you. Sarah, and she kind of points up.
I'll look to where she points.
Up in the sky, through the clouds somewhat, you can see a massive space battle currently in Earth's orbit.
Do I recognize any of the ships?
You're too far away. You literally see the explosions from various, what you presume, vessels and phaser discharges striking small dots in the night sky, or well, in the skyline. As you look, you see one of the medics. They start picking up the individual that was wounded onto a stretcher, and lo and behold, you see more officers running straight towards you in a panic. They rush by you, pushing you aside and knocking Annika to the ground.
I will help Annika back up and then look in the direction they ran.
Where they ran to, or where they ran from?
Ran from.
Okay. You help Annika up. As you turn your head, you notice this large robotic like machine stomping on the ground. You see a large discharge, and then you suddenly wake in a cold sweat. Both you and Annika inside your quarters on the starbase.
I'll turn to Anna and say, "What was that?"
You had it too? And she's like breathing heavily.
Yeah, the attack on my home world. Did you see the bridge?
Yes. She's breathing.
I've
I,
never had a dream like that.
I've never seen that place before.
That is where I trained to become a Starfleet officer. That was the academy. But there were a lot of dead and dying.
It seemed so real. I can, I can still smell the ash.
Well, hopefully, what my mother says is true, that it was just a dream.
I hope so too. It's, we normally don't share dreams. This is interesting.
Do you think this is part of the bond we share?
It, it's sometimes individuals, from what I am told, can share experiences, but usually dreams are not shared. And you can feel that she is distraught.
And I'll say this to her in her mind. Don't worry about the dream. We all get nightmares from time to time. I will keep you safe.
She just nods. Maybe a nice walk in the arboretum will help clear our minds.
I think a walk will do us fine.
And with that, real quick, we'll go to the next scene. But first, before we do that, Kalem, is there anybody before we change scenes that you wish to have as your, I should say, legal counsel?
To be honest, I don't know who of the crew would make a good legal counselor.
I don't think it's going to be one of the crew members.
It could be if they have a decent enough con score. They could be helpful in that regard. They might know
Call,
enough about that sort of thing.
call Blackwell's wife. I think she's a real life lawyer.
I tried to get Blackwell to play today, but
That would have been awesome. I agree. That would have been awesome. So I think I would probably go with a station jargon.
okay. I'll allow anyone on the Tereshkova to play that character.
Is there anyone that we need to avoid that would be called otherwise?
What do you mean?
Well, if you're going to be a witness, you don't want to be the defense attorney also.
Yeah.
That would get
I would
confusing.
say probably Joan would probably be the better fit for that.
I suppose it's defense.
Yeah.
Prosecution would be completely inappropriate.
Oh, I'm playing the
Oh,
prosecution.
I mean, there's a bunch of people in line to do prosecution.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could do one of the station jag guys. I knew Joan, the character, would be a bad idea because his con score is pretty garbage. He's good at talking to people, but he's not great at applying the rules in particular.
All right.
He's no lawyer. Con 2, I can fly a shuttle, and I know how not to get a speeding ticket. That's about it.
Okay. I don't have another character sheet made up, so I forgot to do that.
I could just pull a jag from the command book.
Yeah, that'll be fine. All
Probably
right.
one in there. Admiral so and so. Wait. I'm kidding. There it is. Oh, actually, I have to take off in a bit, remember? Probably not good for me to be the
Right.
defense, I just realized. But for quick stats,
I have it pulled up, so
oh, of course you do. Of course you do.
Of course.
that's supposed to mean.
Kidding. Phoenix Wright Star Trek edition. I'm ready. I'm
Not
excited.
Phoenix Wright
actually.
without
Can-
that music.
Yeah.
And then the video gets taken down immediately.
Can we get the Law and Order music? Oh wait, yeah, that would get
Yeah.
us copyright. Not copyright struck, but
Well, if you play enough of it.
just distort it really badly. Play it backwards.
Vaporwave.
Yeah, I'm excited though.
Ooh. Actually, I'll be heading out right now. Timetable moved up, so I should be back sooner on the plus side.
All right. Sorry, I am setting the stage here.
Cool. I should be back. Kalem, try not to attack any of the judges in the meanwhile, please.
And why would I do that?
Because it's your only way out. Get a phaser. No, I'm just kidding.
Just gotta pull your best. You can't handle the truth.
All right, we'll say there's a defense attorney for Calum standing next to him. In the courtroom, per se, there's no windows. There's Starfleet decorum with Federation flag and whatnot. Different banners and whatnot. The three that are presiding over it enter the room. They're all rise, as one security guard officer states. Assuming the three take a seat.
Yes.
And Lieutenant Commander McKinsey starts off. Members of the board, I like to go off and start reading the charges against a one Lieutenant Junior Grade Kalem Tablin, if you don't mind.
I kind of pick up a pad and look over, and I kind of look down the line at the other people on the panel. I think we're well aware, unless any of the other officers would like to hear them.
The Admiral kind of looks like, I don't believe it's needed, Lieutenant Commander, but you may proceed. And she nods. I would like to first call Lieutenant Aiden Lane to the witness stand, if you don't mind. I'd like to go over the accounts on the charge of assault and attempted assault, as well as the actions that happened in the medical ward on Stardate 54106.5.
You may proceed.
A lieutenant, gold uniform, steps onto the witness stand. Go through the whole for time favor. Acknowledges as yet he acknowledged that he will tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Lieutenant Commander McKinsey steps forward. Lieutenant Lane, could you please state your name and rank for the proceedings? Just kind of nods. Lieutenant Aiden Lane, station security on board Starbase 21. I was assigned to the medical ward, or patrol for the medical ward. Then, thank you, Lieutenant. Can you please recount the time that the incident on Stardate 54160.5? It's like, yes. I was doing my normal routine patrol when I saw the Bajorn over there. It's like, Lieutenant, could you please refer to the defendant, either as defendant or by his proper rank? Kind of like, of, yes, ma'am. Goes, the defendant rushed into the medical ward rather abruptly, causing a disruption. Went to investigate. As I approached him, saw that he had raised his arm and attempted to strike a unconscious individual. I instantly grabbed his arm to stop him, and told him that he needs to leave the medical ward. If not, I will have him forcibly detained and sent to the brig. At that point, he struck me and knocked me out. From there on, there are other security officers that could testify on the matter that happened afterwards, as well as the
I believe my defense would have called an objection. Relevant details are being left out at that point.
can
Never
bring.
mind. Never mind. It would have been in cross-examination. That's my
Yeah.
fault.
But the audio and video records for the medical ward will corroborate my story on the matter, as well as the other eyewitnesses to the scene of events. Thank you, Lieutenant. Your witness, defense council member.
Who's playing the defense counsel?
Latala, why don't you give a shot at it?
Oh, okay, sorry, I wasn't really prepared for this. God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm kind of
Well, thank for seeing. This is a pretty important witness, and they're not seeming to offer much testimony that's helpful to your client. So you should probably do something about their credibility or their story.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just kind of God, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm kind of choking up.
If you want to, Cam, you can go ahead and just play that part if you want.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, guys. I just kind of.
You're good. You're good. So the defense counsel will walk up and not actually literally approach the witness, as that requires permission. But he'll go, Lieutenant Commander, isn't it
Lieutenant.
true?
Or,
It's a
yeah,
lieutenant.
it's Lieutenant. Lieutenant Commander was the
Oh,
opposing
okay.
counsel.
I'm my bad. My brain is all scattered trying to get a hold of this. Lieutenant, isn't it true that prior to him striking you, he did, in fact, request that you release him and allow him to attempt to awaken his fellow crew member?
The individual was not authorized to awake the patient. That is for the medical staff to do. I was merely enforcing the laws and rules of and Starfleet protocol in this case.
By initiating an action when no formal illegal action had
He,
happened as of yet, correct?
I thwarted a attack on an unconscious patient.
An attack. Isn't it possible that he was just going for a light, just awakening tap along the side of the face?
I will not presume to. And then the defense counsel like circumstantial or objection. Subject is engaging in circumstantial.
I'm trying to establish the intent of my client here.
Overruled, since the witness is the one who is allowing is commenting on this matter.
So, Lieutenant, I would ask again. Is it possible that he was just going to not do any illegal action, but just attempt to awaken his fellow officer on his own.
Potentially, perhaps. However, he already engaged in illegal activity by being in an unauthorized area at the time without consulting a medical professional.
So what you're saying, Lieutenant, is that even entering into sickbay is considered an illegal action.
The individual was being
Even if-
monitored. The patient was being monitored, from my understanding.
Lieutenant, is it illegal for a crew member to visit a fellow crew member while in sickbay?
I believe this is not a legality issue. It's more of he was not authorized to be there at that point in time.
Thank you. How would you know he wasn't authorized to be there at that point, Lieutenant?
Because the patient was currently in a monitoring, I was just about intensive care at the time.
I wish Nurse Sullivan was here. Oh, yes, thank you. Between Lieutenant Kalem entering the area and the illegal action, did you confirm that the patient was still in intensive care?
Individuals are put in certain sections of the ward. The ward that the patient was in the intensive care section. I believe the individual was there for observational status. I was not privy to their medical condition, nor would I ever be.
Understandable, Lieutenant. Now, moving on from that, when you restrained the lieutenant, what were his actions after that? Again, please.
He was defiant, refused to abide by my instructions, and I believe he was also refusal of also the medical staff that was telling him to not touch the patient.
Medical staff was telling him that.
I believe so. I believe one of the individuals spoke up and said not to touch the patient.
Did at any point in time did the lieutenant request that you release?
I merely grabbed his wrist and attempted from keeping him from striking the patient in question. At that point,
my bad, go on ahead.
At that point, I instructed him that he needed to leave the medical ward. If he failed to do so, he would have to accompany me or be brought to the brig. At that point, he struck me.
At any point, did the lieutenant request that you release him? And I would quote from the direct notes that he gave me. Quote, release me or wind up like her.
He did, and I took that as a threat. Believing that the individual, the defendant, was being hostile and needed to be further restrained.
At any point, did you ask him why he was there?
No, I did not. However, the individual was incapacitated. Or, sorry, the patient was incapacitated.
According to the records that I have from the medical wing, they were merely asleep, not incapacitated. They had been comatose, which they had come out of, and were merely resting at the time, according to the medical records that I have. Did you at any point confirm that maybe, even with the medical staff, maybe the security officer was ready for deep duty and needed to be awoken to help
That is
assist with
not my judgment call. That is for the medical ward to decide that information. The defendant would have to go through a medical professional in order to awake the said patient if they were ready to be brought in for duty. That is not my place, nor, from my understanding, any other Starfleet personnel's other than the medical departments.
Lieutenant, you decided that when you decided that he wasn't able to do that when you stopped him from attempting to awaken his fellow officer. If that didn't work, he could have
Objection, Your
talked
Honor.
to one of the...
On what grounds?
The prosecutor, or not the prosecutor, the defendant's counsel is arguing circumstantial evidence.
The defendant opened the line of questioning by stating that he was not authorized to make that decision. Counsel only suggested that he had already done that. So overruled.
There's a lawyer term that I'm trying to think of.
I think if the defendant does answer, he can.
It was a follow-up question. The defendant started the line of questioning.
Yeah.
You mean, the counsel had already started the line of questioning and he had already answered and I was following up on his answer type deal?
Yeah.
Okay. The defense is going to look at the prosecution. Let me rephrase the question just for you and go, Lieutenant, while my client was attempting to awaken his fellow officer, did you check with a medical professional to see if it was possible for him to be for his fellow security officer to be woken up?
I did not, but I believe that there was no time to ascertain that question. I was not given the chance to.
So, what you're telling me, Lieutenant, is that your actions were based upon your assumptions. Is that correct?
My actions were based on observation, not assumptions.
Observations and assumptions. Because observation is one thing, and then you had to assume his intent before you made your action, Lieutenant.
Objection, Your Honor. The defense counsel is leading the witness.
I'm merely asking for clarification and pointing out the difference between his assumption and his observation.
Sustained. Counsel, you should redirect your question.
And the council thinks for a second as to how to go about redirecting the question. He's just gonna look at the board and go, based upon that fact, I have no further questions.
All right. Lieutenant, you're dismissed.
Process like I like to cross-examine the witness. Your Honors.
Counsel is going to stand up and go, objection, he already had his chance to answer all relevant questions prior to my cross-examination.
I like to clarify some of what the defense counsel brought up.
1 second. Oh yeah, so it's not it's not called cross. It's called redirect examination.
Or redirect. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can
redirect.
do that. Yes, counsel. If you still have questions, and the witness can stay for your questions.
Thank you, Lieutenant Lane. Could you please, in the moment, slightly before, was there enough time given for you to make or ascertain the question or not that the patient could be awakened? Then Lane kind of stops for a moment. I don't believe there was time. Things escalated rather quickly. And do you believe that the defendant was acting violent at the time, or kind of like, that is hard to say. He seemed anxious or stressed out, and then openly hostile. before he assaulted me. Thank you, Lieutenant. No further questions.
Now you can be dismissed, Lieutenant.
He nods and steps down and walks off.
The court calls the prosecution's next witness.
I'd like to bring to the stand security team leader Lieutenant Beck. A rather large man steps up, sits down, goes through the whole spiel for time's sake here. Lieutenant Beck, describe the moment when you arrived into the medical ward. We got the security alert from one of the medical staff that there was a commotion with one of our fellow security officers, Lieutenant Lane. As we entered in there with our phasers drawn for self-defense purposes only, since we did not know what we were walking into, we found that Lieutenant Lane was unconscious near a biobed with a Romulan Starfleet officer, I believe, as well with our phasers drawn, ready to engage the defendant. One of the nurses or the medical personnel incapacitated by hypoing the defendant. Luckily, we were not needed to aggravate or engage in a firefight, thankfully due to the medical personnel's quick thinking. Thank you, Lieutenant Beck. Your witness.
Would the defense like to cross-examine the witness?
One moment, I'm conferring with my client here. The defense is going to look up and go, for this witness, I have no question.
All right. Lieutenant, you are dismissed.
He nods and steps down. Your Honors, I'd like to call Lieutenant Rotala Tchark, the patient that was in the medical ward.
Objection, that witness was unconscious at the time of the incident and would have no knowledge of the incident.
This witness is privy to why the lieutenant was in the medical ward.
This witness would not know that, as they were unconscious for 24 hours.
Your Honor, this witness was placed in the medical ward by actions handed by the lieutenant prior to the incident.
Unless it pertains to the action in the medical bay, it's not relevant. And as for clarification, this is out of character. As for clarification, it's normally not acceptable to bring a witness that is trying to establish the morals or the state of mind of the character unless they're a professional. That's why I would say that.
Could she be a character witness?
Character witnesses aren't normally a thing that are allowed to be done.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not normally acceptable. There's very few instances where it's acceptable. That's why I'm objecting.
Well, I have no further witnesses at this time.
Does the defense have any witnesses they would like to call? I'm gonna assume that means you're going to be calling the nurse.
If the nurse Sullivan was here, then definitely. I'm saying anybody, any nurse that would have witnessed the account and understood it from their standpoint.
I can make someone up real quick.
And I'm sorry for that little panic I kind of had. I spaced out of it and I wasn't.
No, you're fine.
You're good. You're good. Don't worry about it.
Thanks. Sorry.
The defense would call Ensign Rashal to the stand.
Prosecution has no objection. The medical officer in question steps up to the stand, goes through the whole spiel.
And once the spiel is done, the defense counsel will come up and go, Ensign, at the time of the incident, what was the current condition of the patient that my client was going?
Starfleet medical stuff is sealed. Cannot divulge this information, but the only thing I can answer is the patient was indeed resting at the time.
Resting and not unconscious, correct?
Resting and unconscious.
Okay, out of character, what I'm trying to get her is say is merely she's asleep and able to be woken up, not
She was asleep.
that type of deal. But okay, yeah, that's what I was trying to. At that point in time, would it have been improper for the lieutenant to attempt to wake her with a slight?
Yes, the patient suffered a head trauma. Without divulging too much into the records, any action to aggravate such trauma could hurt the patient. The patient. Go ahead.
Okay, then with what you have said, why weren't they sedated at the time?
Because of the head trauma, we could not sedate the individual. The patient needed to come to on their own.
At any point in time during this altercation, was it requested that the patient be woken up using stimulant?
Yes, but we informed that the individual who came in to want to wake the patient up, that was not possible, that they needed to come to on their own, and we would notify them when they were available.
No further questions at this time.
Prosecution has no questions for the medical officer.
You're dismissed.
They nod and step off.
Does
Oh,
the
boy.
defense have any more witnesses?
I do. I just don't think he can actually get involved at this time. I mean, and you're sitting on the board, otherwise I would call you.
Me?
Yeah, you. As basically, historically, has Kalem ever done this before, that type of deal?
Oh, no, you can't do character witnesses.
Can't do that? Okay.
That's something that's only going to be allowed in like determining a sentence or something like that. That's not going to be allowed to determine if you actually did it or not, because I'm not an expert on your state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
I can.
And I guess
we,
if we wanted to go with the insanity defense, we'd probably need someone like the counselor, right? Because that
You would need a professional, but a counselor wouldn't be there. You were trying to say something, Joan?
was just saying I can participate from now. I'm on my mobile while I'm waiting.
You could call the counselor. That's a professional.
Yeah, let's go on ahead and do that. I'm going to be thinking of questions on the fly for.
Then the defense calls Lieutenant Wright.
And Lieutenant Wright will walk in and stand in the testimony booth with the familiarity of someone who's done this a few times.
Lieutenant, do you go through the spiel for the Federation law and code and blah blah blah?
I solemnly affirm that I will attend to those effects. Yes.
And the bailiff steps down.
And the defense counsel will come up. Lieutenant, during your time with Lieutenant Kalem, did any of your experiences indicate that he has violent tendencies?
During the short course of my interview with the patient, I did not see any violent tendencies or experience them. I also asked security up to that point if any incidents had occurred. I was told none had. And reviewing my neurological scans, and GM, this is where I'm going to see if the neurological things show that he was like thinking, he has like a high sense of adrenaline or anything like that that would have indicated he was secretly ready to attack me at any moment.
Probably not.
Yeah, they would not.
For some reason.
I mean, sure, I got threat. I haven't spent yet. He was agitated. No, I can't do that. So
And from the neurological scans studied after the fact, during the entirety of the interview, the patient did not show any heightened sense of fight or flight response given the interview and space he was in.
Do your records indicate that he felt any ill will towards Ritala, the patient that is in?
Without further study, I can't answer that question at this time.
And I guess the same would be true for questions relating to station security.
That is correct.
In your professional opinion, was Kalem of his right mind at the moment of the incident?
Could you repeat the question?
In your professional opinion, was Lieutenant Kalem in his right mind at the moment of the altercation incident?
From the little amount of data I could gather, it would seem so, but further examination would be required. He seemed to understand the situation he was in and what he was doing at that time.
In your opinion, if an officer is enraged and in a tense situation, can they overreact to being physically restrained or physically engaged?
That is possible, yes.
In your opinion, is this one of those moments where he simply overreacted?
objection, Your Honor.
On what grounds?
Leading the defense.
Sustained. Counsel, you should keep your questions. You should keep your questions on the defense, the witnesses or the experts' field of study.
That's what I believed I was doing, Your Honor, and I was asking for her opinion on if this was one of those moments where the lieutenant overreacted.
The bench's position is sustained.
Defense will go no further questions.
Would the prosecution allow, like to cross-examine?
The prosecution would like to cross-examine, Your Honor. Lieutenant, from your study with the Lieutenant Kalem here, do you believe that the lieutenant is of sound mind? In your expert opinion?
The patient is aware of his surroundings, why he is doing what he is doing, and the consequences of what he is doing. He has presence of his location and when he is. So I would believe so, yes. In addition, the neurological data shows that he was also not otherwise influenced.
So there is no neurological or I say disorder that would account for the defendant's actions.
That I could determine at the time of the evaluation. Yes.
No further questions.
Would the defense like to redirect?
No. I have no further questions nor redirection.
Lieutenant, you're dismissed.
Thank you.
Does the defense have any further witnesses?
That is all, Your
Then I think we will adjourn and the board will.
I would like, Your Honors, I would like to ask for a short recess. I do have one individual I wish to call to the stand.
This is most improper, as the defense should have time to prepare. I'm going to give.
The
Unless
recess
the
is merely just a quick break, Your Honor. But the individual in question is Lieutenant Kalem.
This should have been done earlier in the trial, but if the defense has no objections, then the board will allow it.
I have no objections.
Then we'll recess for half an hour, and we will resume with the examination of Lieutenant Kalem. And I'll hit my gavel.
All right. This is essentially scene change, but guys give a little time to RP.
We should do this more often.
Yeah. We need to get the.
Commit more crimes, and it'll happen more often.
All right,
We have 30 minutes. Who can commit a crime?
I can attempt to assassinate the admiral.
I like your spirit, but it may be a little too aggressive.
How about I can start a bar fight? Or I can just shoplift, I guess, if that's better.
That's how you get energy whipped by a Ferengi.
Not if I shoot the Ferengi first.
That's murder, not robbery.
I didn't say lethally. Anyways.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. The captain's probably not gonna talk with anyone unless it is one of the other board members.
And I have no idea who Kalem would talk to.
His defense counsel.
Well, yeah, that's true. If we wanted to roleplay with that a little bit, Prax.
That would be you talking to yourself.
Sorry.
It could be perfect for me since I'm playing the prosecution right now.
Oh boy, yeah, I know.
Just change voices, like do Kalem and then I'm Kalem's defense lawyer. Something like that.
Hey,
Well,
if you get the mouse as your defense lawyer, you're set.
Well, it would be a good way to establish the insanity of defense. Just Kalem talking to himself for 30 minutes. You know?
Don't think it counts if the other counsel is also doing it.
Oh god,
boy.
yeah. That's a good one. Leva's not going to be happy about this.
I mean, there's probably a promotion for Leva here.
Yeah, but she's going to be mad at Kalem because they're still technically together, right?
But
And
she'll
with
be
the-
chief engineer, so
Poor Caleb.
I mean, Ratala's probably just not doing things because, you know, I don't think there's a way she could really be useful to this case except from releasing her records, but it might be too late to bring that evidence in. I don't know how we want to play that. Like how strictly we're,
I don't know
you know,
how
going.
the records would even help you. Would help Caleb.
Probably wouldn't.
Yeah,
it
is
could,
lonely.
but you're not going to be able to really enter anything into evidence. Either Caleb would have to ask you to do that, or the prosecution would have to ask you to do that. I don't think you
Yeah.
could do that on your own.
No, I couldn't. Of course. I was just wondering, like, how we're handling discovery and that sort of stuff. We're just skipping that because it's not very interesting.
I think we skipped it since no one actually brought any physical evidence into the trial.
Yeah, we kind of
Right.
did skip it, other than the station security video feeds, which I believe actually were wiped.
No, just certain parts.
Oh, okay.
Which is would be helpful to you anyways.
True, they would.
I think probably the recess is over because I don't think there's any RP anyone wants to do, unless Captain Dekev, who's been silent this entire time,
And the admiral.
and the admiral. Well, I've been playing prosecution, so kind of hard to do the admiral and the.
Oh, was someone playing the captain?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were playing both of them.
But don't worry, I am like exhausted, so like just listening in is perfect. And I've been moving the last couple of days, so I'm fucking tired now.
All right. There's our 1 credit on
Yay.
allowance for F bombs.
Should have to make a donation to the fleet for every swear. The
Oh,
Kismet
God.
would be in trouble.
They would.
Sullivan would owe us quite a debt from last session, too.
Not as bad as the Kismet.
Fair enough.
So yeah, if we're ready to resume, we can resume. I thought I'd just give you guys a break.
Let's decide Calem's fate.
Someone else is going to have to take over the defense counselor, though, because I'm not going to talk to myself.
I was hoping
I'm just thinking.
Lieutenant Wright would be back by now.
The insanity defense is kind of falling apart at this point.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to actually put effort and work into the insanity defense. I don't think Caleb was going for that, because that also doesn't get you anything. That basically puts you in another version of prison.
I was trying to go for the temporary insanity defense, but oh well.
That still is going to end you up in a different version of prison.
Yeah, but it does mean that
he would
I
lose his
think-
character game mechanic wise. Like
Yeah,
he would
like
be.
yeah,
that's true.
as far as game, it affect the story a little, but game mechanics wise, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Well, prison breakout time, I guess.
Not there yet.
I don't know.
He could always Oh, sorry. I'll shut up now.
So everyone funnels back into the courtroom as the judges take their seats, along with the prosecution and the defense. Prosecutors are like, Your Honor, I'd like to call Lieutenant Junior Grade Kalem Tabin to the stand.
Caleb will move towards the stand.
The bailiff kind of was up. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Of course.
Steps down. Lieutenant, can you describe your actions on Stardate 54160.5?
Caleb is going to look at the prosecutor and literally go, at this time, I invoke my 101st right.
Very well. Lieutenant, do you know why Lieutenant Ratalia Chark was in the Starfleet medical ward, whom she was later transferred from the Tereshkova?
Counsel would object to that.
On what grounds?
Relevancy?
Help me, GM, real quick. What did you ask?
It was already shot down earlier.
Why? Well,
Yeah, but-
I couldn't
but-
call
but-
Ratalia at the time because of relevancy, but she's asking why Ratalia was in the medical ward in the first place. Like, if he knows why.
Overruled, but and I'm looking at the prosecution counsel. You're on thin ice here, but overruled. Lieutenant Kalem, you can answer the question.
Caleb will just go, at this time, I invoke my 101st right.
Very well. Your Honor, I'd like to put into the record here certain information as to, of course, this does not violate any of the patient confidentiality, but the incident report aboard the USS Tereshkova involving Lieutenant Junior Grade Kalem Tabin, along with Lieutenant Ratalia Chark, as well as Lieutenant Junior Grade Nurse Karen Sullivan.
In character, I'll say. It's so entered. But out of character, I think we could probably assume that you've entered all relevant evidence.
Yeah.
Because if entering evidence halfway through the trial is a big no-no
Right.
most of the time.
Yeah.
So I think we should just
Which-
assume that you've already entered it all.
It's
You should
okay.
just refer to it, but
Clarify. Yeah, sorry. I am.
say like Exhibit 1 or
Yeah.
you know.
She's like, I like to call it Exhibit 1. Lieutenant Kalem, is it not true that you were the individual responsible for Lieutenant Jakark's injuries and the reason why she was in the medical ward in the first place.
I invoke my 101st right. Sorry, did that not come?
No, we heard you.
Okay.
Very well, Lieutenant. Lieutenant, during the red alert, during that time aboard the starbase before you entered, you were given specific orders to go and uh, secure the Tereshkova. Is that correct?
I invoke my 101st right.
Your Honor's permission to treat the witness as hostile.
Denied. The witness is simply invoking their constitutional rights. Unless they become belligerent, I don't think that's warranted. And the out of game justification is like if he's yelling at you
Right,
or
but
something like that, that would be hostile. This is simply like his right not to self-incriminate.
yeah. I was trying to add drama.
Stonewall Jackson over here.
But
He
it's
got
not,
shot.
but it's not helping his case.
It's not.
Well, you can't use it
No.
against him. Like you can't bring the fact up that he used that right at all, really.
No.
The only way it would hurt him is if he thought he could get better, like if by talking to the prosecution it would make him look better, and I don't think any of us think that would be possible.
Do you have a law degree?
No,
Okay.
I have a degree in computer science, which is 100% irrelevant to all things Star Trek.
It's true.
And I don't think this is any type of evidence that he can be compelled to, because it's not a record or anything. It's just choosing not to self-incriminate, right?
Yep.
Very well. No further questions.
Does defense counsel have any questions for Cross?
I do, Your Honor. Now I'm gonna wind up talking to myself.
Welcome to, well, it's GM's worst nightmare.
Yeah, it kind of is. And so, the council is going to go, Lieutenant, what was your reasons for attempting to wake the lieutenant? And Keelan's gonna look at him.
Objection. That has already been established.
Overruled? I don't think. Yeah, you can. They can establish something again. I don't think. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't think there's any reason why you like both counsel couldn't ask the same question.
I think it's
Didn't the
okay.
prosecutor literally just ask it and he invoked his
Yeah,
right?
he invoked his right. That's why she's stating, like, you overruled, like, he invoked his right.
I literally have no idea in this situation.
Can he? Oh, that's a.
I think, but based on the way it was asked, I think there's still an argument to be made for why he wouldn't answer if he thought the way the question was framed would make him look a certain way. I
mean,
don't think you can do anything legally about someone using something like the Fifth Amendment.
At that point, isn't it kind of just him choosing who he wants to? Like, I don't think.
So
there's
here's the
anything
thing, though.
saying
He
that
can answer the question. Okay, so the objection can be overruled. But here's going to be the problem. So he's opened himself up because he invoked his right
Okay,
to remain
so
silent. But he invoked his right after this point to be cross-examination again.
So I will say there's no reason to object here because you're already protected by the right to like redress. So you can after the defense like cross-examines, you can come back and ask questions about things that were asked during
Right.
cross-examination.
Yeah.
Is the right, like the right that he's specifically invoking? Does it say like is it essentially him invoking his right to not be compelled to incriminate himself, or what's
It's the right to remain silent, essentially. Directive
Okay,
101. Like, you don't have to speak about a certain topic, and it won't be used against you.
he can revoke it then, can't he? Like, I mean, not revoke's not the right word, but
You can, but the objection was he already, like, the prosecution already asked that question. He made his statement that he refuses to make that known.
Yeah, I think it's super. Like, I understand why it could be a problem, but I don't think there's anything here that would tell us which way this is supposed to go.
There's not.
I
It's
think,
just this is
yeah.
just drama flavor
I
at this
I
point.
just think that if he decides to answer it, he then has to answer for the prosecution,
He does.
for the cross.
He does.
Like
for
that
the
would be
cross.
the only thing, because he already gave up that right. You know what I'm saying?
Like, I understand the logical reason why that would make sense, but I don't know that there's anything that says he would be compelled not to use that again.
It's just odd because generally, if it's for me, if someone was invoking their rights, they would just be taken off the stand. Like, why have a defense if you're just not going to say anything? It's a weird area. Yeah.
Well, the only witness that this is possible with is Kalem, though. Every other witness wouldn't do this because he's literally the person defending himself here. So I don't know. I mean, Vogel's also on the thing, so you can when we actually come to this on if Prax decides to do a re-examination, then that would be the time where we could hammer this out.
Yeah.
But for right now, it doesn't really matter.
I think you can still withdraw that at any time, but it's
You
I
could
don't know.
you could withdraw the question right now, yes, but if you keep going, if Kalem asks any more things of himself, that's when later down the line we would have to actually solve this problem. But right now, I
Yeah.
don't think there's anything to solve. So I'll just say overruled. Lieutenant Kalem, you may answer the question.
Kalem's going to arc an eyebrow and just go, because I believe they were the most experienced person to handle the situation. Sorry, I'm not really good at talking to myself in character. And defense is going to look and go, no further questions.
Your
Would the
Honor,
prosecution
yes, the prosecution would like to cross-examine. Stands up. Lieutenant, you felt the need to go wake up Lieutenant Duchark when Lieutenant Duchark was at the time presumed medically unfit for duty. Is that correct?
I didn't know that at the time.
Did you bother to find out, Lieutenant? My question is, did you seek any individual in the medical ward to ask on the whereabouts and condition?
Defense counsel is going to stand up and go, objection, that was not covered in my cross-examination. Everything else is covered under his 100%.
overruled? I think it is still relevant, but prosecution, this all should pertain to the question asked by the defense in cross.
I'll restructure my question. Lieutenant, you, due to the fact that you felt it prudent to wake the individual you did not want to seek or did not bother to seek an advice from a medical professional if they could be waken up.
Kalem just looks like he's thinking for a second and goes, it was a desperate time, and I thought lives might be on the line.
But please, can you answer the question, Lieutenant? Did you or did you not seek advice from a medical professional?
I believe it was stated that at one point I did ask if he could be awakened by stims.
No, I don't think you did. The
He
ensign
didn't.
did.
Someone else did.
The ensign did from
Oh,
intelligence. Yeah.
Okay.
And the answer was no to
I
the
thought-
intelligence, by the way.
I thought I had said then wake him up, give him a shot, type deal. I might be
The nurse,
from last week. That's my...
yeah, the nurse refused to do that because they wanted them to wake up on their own. So that's the GM out of character recalling events for you.
I was going to if I had had the chance.
But don't you think it would be
Attempting to-
prudent to ask someone, Lieutenant, instead of barging in and, shall I put this, causing a ruckus?
I didn't feel I had the time due to the possible classified nature of the uh, events surrounding it.
I don't believe the events surrounding it were classified, Lieutenant. The nature of the alert was that there was a manhunt aboard the station at the time. There are currently 500 able personnel who can conduct the manhunt. I'll ask again, do you feel the need to go in there, and what was your impulse to strike the lieutenant?
Council's going to go objection not covered.
Overruled. I think this is still on track. Lieutenant, you may answer the question.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. My bad. Oh boy. Kalem is going to go. You consider attempting to gently awaken my fellow officer with a pat on the side of the head as a strike?
Would it be more prudent to ask a medical professional to wake the lieutenant up?
Perhaps more prudent, yes. However, I did not have the time to do so.
Were you at any point in time ordered to wake the lieutenant up?
No, as I stated, I thought she would be the most able person to help handle the situation.
Maybe so. However, Lieutenant, she was incapacitated at the time. So instead of seeking out a medical professional to wake up Lieutenant Tachark, you decided to, in your own words, a light slap on the face. But in doing so, a security officer stopped you. Is that correct?
Objection not covered.
Sustained, counsel. You should keep your questions on the witness's intentions.
Then I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Does either counsel have any more witnesses to call?
Not this time.
No, Your Honor.
Then this board will adjourn and we will deliberate. And I hit the gavel. I don't hit the gavel. I gavel the gavel.
Give the gavel a little slap.
I might get court-martialed.
I think it's a chime now, isn't it?
It's a chime. Ding.
I gavel the chime. I chime the gavel. Not sure.
No, it's just a little rod. You just hit the bell.
Oh, because it's ship themed. That's right.
Yep.
Our bell was probably destroyed.
Good thing the Starbase has one.
Probably stolen by the mysterious figure. That's why we got this ancient gavel.
Right, the judges go off to a separate chamber. Well, captains, your thoughts?
There's enough here to proceed to a general court-martial. I'm not entirely convinced on what the outcome of that court-martial should be, but I do think a court-martial is warranted.
It seems the facts in this case support the captain's recommendation.
I would tend to agree. It seems that the facts of the matter that were brought up, though disturbing in some cases, but I do believe we're all in favor proceeding with a formal court-martial hearing.
Hold on 1 second before I say anything more in character. I gotta look at something. I think we should, however, drop the charge of attempted assault on fellow Starfleet personnel, as there is already one charge to handle what happened to Andon Lane, and there wasn't enough information presented to suggest that he had any intention of assaulting anyone else. And I also would think we should drop the refused an order from a superior officer, since Lieutenant Kalem was technically was for most of the engagement the superior officer, and when a superior officer did arrive,
No,
he did comply.
Lieutenant Lane's a full
He's
lieutenant.
a full lieutenant. Okay.
Yeah, he's a full lieutenant. Kalem is a lieutenant junior grade.
Okay, then never mind. Yeah, I'm gonna object. I think we should remove the conduct unbecoming, because that is already covered in the assault, and I think we should remove the second assault charge. So I think it should be assaulting a superior officer and assaulting a superior officer for Aiden Lane and Richala, but I think we should drop the other 3 charges. But I do think the other 2 should move forward.
Okay, so you want to drop the attempt assault of a
The
superior
attempted
officer?
assault, oh yeah,
Both
we can keep
attempted.
the refusing.
Keep,
No, just the conduct unbecoming. Oh yeah. So I'll repost it. I'll repost it what I think they should be. Those are what I think they should be. The ones that should proceed to court-martial.
Sorry, can I ask an out of character legal questions kind of relevant to this?
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry. I was thinking about something else. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh wait, so the charge that's being the attempted assault charge is the one against Ritala, and that's the one that's being dropped, or is that
The attempted assault against Ritala?
yeah?
Yeah, I mean, in my character's opinion, it wasn't established that he was trying to assault Ritala, so that one should be dropped.
Okay, I was confused about that. Sorry.
But I mean, that's one person out of 3 who thinks that so far. I don't know what the others think.
I would agree with the removing the attempt to assault a superior officer. However, he did refuse orders.
Did I remove that one?
Oh no,
I don't
sorry.
think I removed that one.
I'm sorry. The his behavior though seemed rather erratic. I do not think removing for the unbecoming of a Starfleet officer.
I'm saying we removed that one only because the thing that he did that was unbecoming was the assault. And so that's kind of charging someone with 2 different offenses for the exact same incident.
That
like,
double
assault
jeopardy.
is a higher charge than conduct unbecoming. So the assault implies conduct unbecoming, so there's no reason to actually have the charge of conduct unbecoming.
Right, but the conduct unbecoming is what sticks with you, is what captains would look at. So it would be something we want in his record. But
yeah,
in my opinion, I think the ones that we should not charge him with would be attempted strike on Ritala, because I agree. And then the number 4, acts of cruelty against a fellow Starfleet officer.
Where's that one? Oh no, those are possible things. I thought those were possible things that list what unbecoming is.
Those are all part of that. Under that one charge.
Oh, I thought those were just listing what things qualify as unbecoming. Those are all sub charges.
Yeah, those are all sub charges.
Oh, hold on a second. Well, double jeopardy doesn't apply here because that only applies to being charged for the same crime after you've already been your guilt or innocence has already been established.
I mean, but wouldn't it essentially be equivalent to charge, like, someone attacks someone and then kills them, and then you charge them for both murder and assault for that same incident?
No, because it's the same. It'd be the same thing.
That's what I'm about to object to, but okay. I'm not. It's going to end up in me not removing the whole conduct unbecoming.
Yeah. Man, this is we do need to commit more crimes. This is fun.
Glad you guys enjoyed this.
I'm just enjoying.
I'm gonna have to practice. I'm gonna have to get a law book and practice law now if I'm gonna be doing.
We're just gonna have to get Blackwell's significant other on.
God, she would destroy us.
Okay.
She would destroy us.
She was actually in law.
Unless both sides have that, that would be like that wouldn't. It wouldn't work for RP reasons.
But we can make her the judge, or if like we really want like a good prosecutor.
Yeah, but like I could accept judge, but prosecutor would suck because then the player playing defense just is not going to be able to
I'm
like handle that.
I mean, it's a while away, but I am going to law school like in a year and a half, assuming I pass the LSAT.
Okay, so, but we all
Oh,
agree
okay.
the
So
attempted strike on Rutala going.
yeah, I kept the conduct unbecoming, but only for the acts of lawlessness. I think everything else is covered in the other charges, and we were going to drop cruelty anyways.
First one I can see gone. The second one would probably still stick. Acts of violence while in the presence of fellow Starfleet officers.
I feel like that one's covered though.
So you're reading into the acts of violence part. If you just ignore that and read the rest of it, that's what falls under the conduct unbecoming. The act of violence, we all agree it happened. It's that second part of basically what this is saying is that he is not meeting the expectations of an officer of Starfleet. So so yes, he did the the act of violence. He committed the crime, and he did it in this fashion of not being an outstanding citizen to display the uniform, so to speak. So it's a different thing. You know what I'm saying? Because the one for me that borders up with the other one is the acts of cruelty against a fellow Starfleet officer. That's basically saying that he assaulted him.
Yeah.
This one, insubordinate conduct. Well, he disobeyed orders, so that one should stay.
Yeah, I was only unsure about that one because that's exactly what the refusal from an order from a superior officer is. Those are the exact same charge to me.
I mean, I think we're just getting into some semantics here.
The subcharges are all part of that one charge, clarifying what he violated, that he violated all these acts during for that specific charge.
Because I think we're nitpicking the wrong things, because he is still guilty of conduct unbecoming of an officer. It doesn't really matter how or how many times, he's still guilty of it. Like the punishment for doing it once is not going to be any less than his punishment for doing it 5 times.
It's still the same punishment, no matter how you look at it.
Right. Because we just got to take everything into account to create one just punishment. That's my thought. I think we're getting too stuck with the wordings, and I don't think we need to. I like how it was laid out, though.
Okay, yeah, I may be outnumbered. I'll go ahead and stick with suggesting we drop everything but assaulting a superior officer and refusing an order. And if I'm overruled, then I'm over. Because there's 2 of y'all, so.
I mean, because I'm not too worried about like the sub points. Like the only one I would take away is the attempted assault of Lieutenant Rotala to Charik.
That would be the number 4. That would be acts of cruelty against a fellow Starfleet officer, because that's that one was based on.
Yeah, that's the only one I would remove.
So we can discuss the whole finer point of like what the list of formal charges will go forward in a second, but I'm assuming the two of you are in agreement that it would go forward towards a court-martial.
Yeah.
But anyway, this was kind of what I had in mind for a sentencing. Um, re- Reduction in rank to ensign, a minimum sentence of 1 month in the brig, and mandatory counseling sessions daily.
Well, the Board of Inquiry is to establish whether or not it needs to go to full trial. Like,
Oh,
Yeah,
This is-
we basically did the whole trial by accident.
Yeah, we did.
So
oh,
the court martial is gonna like that's why I'm kind of arguing on the facts of what the charges should be, because basically whatever charges we suggest are gonna be the ones he's found guilty of. Like, because we kind of accidentally combined two things.
yeah. I think
Yeah, we
that's
did.
why I'm more confused,
Yeah,
because I
we
thought
did.
this was more or less trial.
It turned that way, yes. I
It
don't think
did.
that's what it was supposed to
It
be.
wasn't supposed to be, but it kind of turned that way.
So if this is just so if this is just us deciding like, can we get a conviction or something out of this, then definitely assaulting a superior officer. There is no doubt in that.
Yes, because yes, because I think most of the defense was gonna base on like his inability to make the split-second decision on when his arm was grabbed, and that's probably irrelevant. So I would agree on that.
Yeah, that defense kind of went out the window when he admitted.
Like, the board itself can decide not for this to go to trial and decide, well, we could do this instead. You know, yeah, he's guilty of all this stuff, but is it warrant? The court martial is his character is done for. Like, he loses his character, and that will be a separate court case. But this, in terms of this board of inquiry, is whether or not if it's warrant for that, if everyone feels a need
Oh,
for him
so
to lose
it's-
his character or not.
So what we could say here, and I think this actually works better, is we defer judgment in this case to the ship's captain, one Captain John Elder. It is our recommendation that the punishment for the transaction shall be a reduction in rank to ensign, 1 month minimum time in a brig, with mandatory counseling sessions daily. We could give that recommendation. As
Yes.
opposed to court martial.
So I guess, yeah, what I'm saying is the formal board of inquiry can determine either to go to a court martial or can determine someone who should decide the punishment. And as the other
Well,
judges,
the
y'all
board
could
decides the
offer-
punishment. The entire board will decide
Okay.
the punishment. The
I
board
agree-
will
'cause it was
also
one of the
decide.
following, so I was confused.
They also decide whether or not if it's warranted to go towards a full court martial if they believe the officer is heading down a self-destructive path that could get himself or others killed by evidence found on the board of inquiry.
Then I agree with Vogel. We should not go to full court martial.
Yeah, I agree. Given the what this actually is now, since we established what it actually is, I do not see the need for a full court martial. I feel that this is a matter to be handled by the ship's commanding officer, and it is my professional recommendation that this shall be the effective course to maintaining Lieutenant Junior Grade Kalem's professional career. Because he has to serve time for the assault. The reduction in rank should come from the conduct unbecoming, And for the anger management issues, it should be dealt with by a professional counselor. That is my recommendation. Or that is
To Kev.
Kev, Captain Kev's official recommendation to this panel.
Does the Admiral have input?
I would agree, but I am wondering if it's warrant, but I'll leave that to you, Captain Elder, whether or not he should lose his position as a senior officer. His actions are very unbecoming of a Starfleet officer, and I don't believe he deserves the right to hold a senior officer position at this time.
Well, if there's nothing else, then I think we can return and announce the decision.
After much deliberation, the advocates return to the room. All rise. As the three walk in. I believe the judges at this point take their seats.
Yes.
Captain Elder, he is your officer if you wish to pass judgment. Sorry, that's Admiral Naya talking.
I stand up. On the charge of assaulting a superior officer, we find the defendants guilty. On the charge of attempted assault of a superior officer, we find the defendant not guilty. On the charge of conduct unbecoming an officer, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of attempted assault of a fellow Starfleet officer, we find the defendant not guilty. And on the charge of refusing an order from a superior officer, we find the defendant guilty. The board has conferred with me and deferred to my opinion as the commanding officer of the individual, and I have decided with their counselor that the Lieutenant Junior grade Kalem should face a reduction in rank to ensign for 6 months, cannot serve as a senior officer at any post for 6 months, and mandatory counseling for a period to be determined by the counselor of his assigned post. And then I hit the chime thing. This court is adjourned.
With that, the Prosecutor gathers her things. She nods to her opposition and exits the courtroom, while the judges vacate the courtroom as well. All left is Lieutenant Kalem and his counsel.
I did not leave, but I'm not approaching them right now either.
Calem's definitely going to look at his counsel and go, well, not as bad as I expected. And I think the council will just nod and head out.
I walk up to Ensign Kalem.
And you see at this point that he's already pulled the half pip off.
I
And he's
put my
getting
hand
ready to
up.
hand it to you. He's
I
getting ready to
take it.
hand it to you.
I kind of look at it for a second. I decided to put the limit on reduction to ensign because a small part of me was afraid that you could get back to lieutenant faster than that. The one of the judges only wanted to offer the reduction in rank, and I thought, you know, he could probably get back to lieutenant faster than that.
Probably, sir, but too bad they took engineering away from me too.
Oh, you're referring to the fact that you can't serve as chief engineer.
That, yes, sir.
I think Lieutenant Leva is going to need to take up that post, although she hasn't really held the position before, and she mostly has spent a lot of time out of engineering recently, so I probably will need an advisor on engineering matters. Definitely not part of the senior staff and not having input in senior staff moments, but definitely to advise me. I'm not sure who I'd pick for that yet. Would have to be someone who's experienced in engineering.
That it would, sir. And I'll leave that choice to you.
I go to walk away and I turn around and I do it again and it'll be prison.
Yes, sir.
And I'll leave.
I guess Kalem will head out as well.
Head out to where?
Good question.
Probably somewhere to get a drink.
Probably a bar, yeah.
A bar, you say?
Don't worry, Ritala's already there and halfway through the third drink.
Third? Come on, I'm a Romulan. I'm on the fifth.
I don't think that applies to Romulans.
Hey, we made Romulan ale. We must be. We're either we're either very good drinkers or very stupid. Possibly both.
My question is what you between you and Lieutenant Wright came up with, or you wanted to do that scene now?
We could do that as he's heading out of the courtroom if we still want to do that.
Lieutenant Wright to Lieutenant Kalem. She doesn't know.
Kalem here, Lieutenant. It's Ensign now.
All right. Could you come to my office on the medical deck? I need to have a word with you about your test results.
I'll be right there. Redirects from heading to the bar to the. You wanted to see me, Lieutenant?
Yes, Ensign. Please have a seat. You see, there's pads everywhere, and some of them are turned over. Some of them are face up, and they have various things on them, various brain scans and such on them.
Been doing some light reading, I see.
Well, I decided once I got back to look over your file to see if there's anything I missed. It's part of my job to make sure you're okay. And well, please, do you want something to drink? I get the feeling you didn't get great news.
As soon as we're done here, I'm planning on heading to Mott's.
Mott's. Oh yes. Well, I'm not sure how to say this to you, but I'll just be straight with you. When I was asked in the courtroom whether there was something neurological in effect, it occurred to me that there was something in your family history that maybe we didn't really know about that would require further study. So, since I have free time, I decided to study it. You I don't believe you were actually in control of your actions during your altercation. I actually, from my preliminary study, I believe that you're suffering from Sticker syndrome. It's a rare genetic disorder that occurs in 1 in 10,000 Bajorans. Usually treated rather early on. But unfortunately, since your family history was unknown to us, we didn't know anything was wrong, since it requires a special high-stress situation to manifest in a violent nature. That is to say that you have a tendency in certain high-stress situations, due to various traumas you felt and a predisposition toward this, to react in a violent manner. The good news is, if I'm right, I'm fairly sure I'm right, it's treatable. There's no exact cure at this time, since Bajoran medicine is still being fully compiled into a nature that we can use. But it is treatable, and arguably, this could be used in, or could have been used at least in your defense regarding what happened. I want to inform you as soon as possible, and to tell you your options. Right now, unfortunately, although it may be a result of a medical disorder, that may be something that could have influenced your case. This may affect your ongoing career if you don't receive treatment, because you can live without treatment. It's entirely fine that you can live without it. You just have to stay in low stress situations. But if you were to continue serving in high stress situations, you would require ongoing treatment to ensure that it didn't happen again, until a cure comes into it.
Well then. I guess if I'm going to stay in Starfleet, I need to get treatment.
Yes, I will be sure to, with your permission, of course, I intend to send this to your ship's chief medical officer, and I'll have that I'll tell them exactly what they need to do, and I'll see about having someone transferred from the station to attend, since this is a you'll require a dedicated counselor, minimum, plus regular visits with your CMO to ensure that your drug treatment is working fine and it doesn't need to be adjusted.
Be careful what you wish for, counselor. You could wind up being the person on that ship.
On a Galaxy class, I don't think so. I'm the junior lieutenant. I'm just a lieutenant. More likely, someone else more important will get it.
Don't sell yourself short, Lieutenant.
Um. Yeah. Oh yes. One last thing before I forget. You're not required, because the only people that I have to divulge this to, and that you have to divulge this to, is it's chief medical officer and your counselor, because we do have a method of treating it. I will be in the Starfleet medical file, since I am required to lodge that as a possible reason that you'd be medically discharged. The only reason we'd ever divulge this is if it was at your option, or if you were especially non-compliant with treatment. That is to say, you simply didn't show up and you refused medical, and even then, we would simply say you were medically unfit, and we wouldn't go any further. So, since you do have rights as an officer and a Federation citizen, you have very special protections when it comes to this sort of thing. And frankly, and I want to apologize to you on behalf of Starfleet Medical, in that your counselor, because you were without a counselor for an especially long time, and the counselor on the Sarek wasn't well trained enough, sadly. This wasn't caught earlier, and the only reason I caught it is because I checked your neurologicals and I was looking for something. This is something that a counselor could catch if they did regular treatments in this manner, but not everyone performs regular neurological checks to this depth. This is a more recent practice, borrowed from the Ferengi of all people, believe it or not.
I completely understand, Lieutenant. It's not your fault.
Right.
Frankly, it's not Starfleet's fault either. It's a very hard syndrome, if my memory serves me correctly. Very, very hard to detect.
Yes. But if you wish me to speak with the Jack office about this and give more information to them, I can. But that's your option. Right now, we have a path to treatment. You're not required to divulge, but if you wish to, I can.
Just medical. Preferably Nurse Karen Sullivan should have all the pertinent details.
Nurse Sullivan?
Yeah.
Where's that pad? Your chief medical officer is a nurse.
Yeah, we don't have a fully fledged doctor. Unfortunately, they were killed.
And the rest are on residency, so they can't.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I can let Nurse Sullivan know, certainly. And I'll speak with your future counselor and figure out what to do from there. If you want more details, feel free to contact me whenever. I can, since I'm the one who found this, I'm the one who's going to continue researching this, because you're the first Bajoran I've ever met with the syndrome. So, hooray, I guess.
Well, Lieutenant, if you don't mind, I think I have a date with a drink at Mott's.
I would actually recommend you reduce your drinking. I would advise that if you are to drink, that be your only drink for today, and you go to fruit drinks or other stimulant drinks.
I'll give it a thought, Lieutenant.
Of course,
If
Ensign.
you would just allow me one more day of how shall we say, enjoyment?
Yes. You'll have an appointment with your CMO tomorrow. Be sure to be there, okay? Or if your CMO isn't available, you can talk with ours here. It'll work either way.
Yeah, we'll work it out.
Very good, Ensign. Sorry about what happened, and best of luck.
Thanks again, Counselor. And Kalem, at the unspoken dismissal that the counselor has given, will turn towards the door and head.
And after he left, she looks up. You're dismissed. Right. And she continues working. Like she spaced out and was too busy on her pads.
And at that point, I'm just going to head to Mott's.
With that, I think we're going to conclude today's session.
Oh,